You read that it failed. Ignore my glitter packaging. I come packing crafting. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me here on SewStitchHex. I'm Academia, and today I'm going to be doing a review of A Sign of Affection, Volume 3. And if you want to catch Volume 1 and 2's review, I will have it linked somewhere, and you can find it. I'm probably going to throw this into a playlist with the other books. This is a series by suu Morishita. It is absolutely adorable. As a recap, I will read the little bit of the story so far. Yuki is a college student who was born deaf. One day, a foreign tourist asks her for directions on the train. Not knowing any English, she panics until an upperclassman from her school, Itsumi, comes to her rescue. Itsumi doesn't treat her like a delicate flower, so every time they meet, Yuki is more and more enchanted by him. Eventually realizing that she's in love with him, she decides to go after him seriously, and is surprised to find herself invited to his place, where things heat up. On the way home, Yuki starts feeling insecure about Itsumi's friend Emma, but then Itsumi runs up and kisses her hand. And this is our main girl. This is our main guy. The back is, will you see me as a woman? Deaf college student Yuki is driving into her newfound romance with Itsumi, a classmate she met on the train who doesn't tiptoe around her disability and also happens to be extremely hot. But his handsome looks mean girls tend to throw themselves at him, and he's unintentionally broken hearts before. Can Yuki draw out Itsumi's true intentions? And is he even interested in romance, or is this focused on an entirely different kind of dream? A singular, touching love story from the creator of Shortcake Cake, which now I want to look that up. And so freaking cute. Okay. So I'm really like how well they communicate, because he's learning sign language now because of her. And at first, like the issues I talked about in Volume 2, was really worried that he was only really vibing with her because he thought because he was looking at her like, at one point he briefly looked at her kind of like you would animals in a zoo, like amazement and like awe. And his friends and her friend were both worried that maybe he's only interested in her because he's intrigued by the concept of a new language, because he has this dream that he wants to open up a school somewhere and like teach languages or whatever to children. And like, that's cool. But we get to see him here, and he shows up at her house and kisses her hand. He doesn't get to explain a lot to her. He just gets to tell her, like, I'm going on a trip soon, and, you know, I'm kind of falling for you. And it's just a really cute process. And this is apparently a sign meaning, like, you're really cute when you pat their head. Even though that's just something they do a lot for affection. This book continues with the mom, who I thought was absolutely hilarious when she, like, took off. Ends up running to her friend who knows sign language and gives her daughter's phone number to that friend who's her friend from when they were young. So I don't know why he didn't have her number already. Like, that doesn't seem to make sense to me, but whatever. Yuki ends up looking for a job in this book, even though her disability means that when they try and call her, like, she can't answer the phone. It's not like she can hear them. So she doesn't know how that's going to work. These are just little things, because she wants to be more self-sufficient. She wants to feel more like an adult, be able to afford to do things with him. And it's just a really cute process. Now, when Itsumi is talking with his friend at the cafe that he works at, it is beyond cute. Like, I guess it's cheesy, it's cliche, it's corny, but I absolutely love it. So the friend is like, can I ask you something? Didn't you tell me the other day that you weren't looking for a girlfriend right now? Or maybe I just assumed, given how you're always scampering off on trips overseas. You're headed somewhere again next week, right? Itsu, what are you going to do? Not about the trip. I mean, about Yuki-chan. Why do you sound so anxious? Because I'm insanely worried about you. You've got a few screws loose. Don't you realize that? You just fly to a new country without booking a hotel like it's totally normal. One of these days, you're going to fall into a volcano or something. You know that? You're always barging into places like that. Well, Japan has fences. Other places don't. You're missing the point. How do you feel about Yuki-chan? You sure love talking about girls, huh? Kiyoya? Fine, maybe I do. I'm a sucker for celebrity gossip. That's not it. Watch it. Once you get so big, he backed into him. So that was... They go on to chit-chat, and he got, our main boy, Itsumi, starts just showing. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. He goes, from the first time we met, I couldn't take my eyes off of her. This is just my speculation, but I think maybe part of it is because her ears have never heard the sound of a cruel word. She's transparent. She sure does feel innocent, if that's what you mean. It's like everybody starts off as a see-through container, but that container gets scratched and dirty and polished because of the influence of other people. I want to have an influence on Yuki. It's like I never want to let her out of my sight. Her eyes, her hands, the looks on her face, they're all beautiful. Now it's like I'm not looking at her. It's more like Yuki captures my eyes and everything else disappears. And he's like, oh my god, he's got it bad. There's our little gossipy questioner. And then, as if clockwork, Yuki walks in and he's like, hey, can I talk to you? And he asked her in sign language, which he had to learn separate from her because he couldn't just ask her, like, how do you say, do you want to go out with me in sign language? Because, well, that is a great segue into just asking. He looked it up separately himself to ask her directly in sign language, which was just super sweet. And she was like, what does he mean by saying that? Like, and then he just comes right up to her. It's a little bit much. I was a little taken aback. It's probably as much as her, if not more, because I'm the reader and get that secondhand embarrassment. He's just like, do you want to go out with me? And then she's like, why? And he's like, I know. Even I couldn't have predicted this. I do want to keep traveling overseas, and I'm sure I'll meet all sorts of people there, but no matter where I go, there's only one Yuki. And she's like, I'm gonna tear up. Like, what the heck? And he's like, could you read my lips? Like, could you read that? And she's like, I couldn't read all of it. And he's like, Yuki, I want you. It was just like, oh my god. Oh. Like, I know it's snowing outside, but it's getting hot in here. And she's like, is that a yes? Because she does the, like, everything. And she's like, yes. Okay, so now they're officially a couple. They go break the news. And even she is completely baffled. Everyone is just, like, wide-eyed and baffled. And it is the funniest interaction. And he does not waste time. They let him walk her to her friend's house where she's staying the night at Ren's house. And they are holding hands, which they've done before. But even she said it feels different. Like we're connected now. And it's just absolutely precious. I do want to say I think it's cool that we have our main protagonist in a book that just really pushes the conventions that I understand are popular in Japan. Because the idea of having disabilities, while understood, is always going to cause some sort of problem with the general public, and it's not always going to be easy to handle someone who can't hear if you don't know, and not everyone is just looking out for disabilities. So we have a character that, you know, needs a little extra help here and there, and then we have our main protagonist, which is very, like, different in his looks. He has silver hair, and he has a tattoo on his finger, which I really want him to talk about at some point. I'm sure it has meaning. I just haven't looked it up. I'm waiting to see if they tell us in the book, because I want to know, but I don't want to ruin it for myself if there's some more significance, you know? And I really like that we have just two characters that are not your, like, cookie cutter, conventional, this is how they are. Like, I really enjoy that. Like, they break these molds. And I wanted to mention that before I totes forgot again. Yeah, so this book continues with him going overseas. He's gone for like a month. And then we have her friend, the one that's always yelling at her in sign language. Clearly enamored with her. Like, he couldn't have hidden it at all. Like, he's just like right here, like, I'm covering up his face. Like, bro, even you have fussed at other people for doing that to Yuki. So why are you doing that to Yuki? But it's because he's like, well, anyway, teach her what you can, would ya? And it's like, I'm counting on you. Got it. Talking about his sister or cousin. Either way, teaching her sign language again because she forgot. And she's working as a nurse. She has a deaf patient, but Yuki was saying, like, what the younger people use and what older people use for sign language is completely different, which makes sense. I mean, every language changes, and the signals that you're going to use when you're younger versus older are definitely going to change. But she's talking about that. And she's like, Oishi-kun, have you really been keeping up your sign language studies? And he's like, you got that right, because I want to be a language interpreter. And she's like, that's really cool, because, like, typically it's women. And one person could joke and say, oh, you're doing that to get more women, right? No. He's like, what else do you like about me? All shy and stuff. Like, dude, you just spelled it out. Like, if Yuki had any more common sense, she would have picked it up, because you laid it all out. Like, that was very obvious. And she's just like, I don't understand error. And is like, what are you doing after this? I'm going home to do homework. Bye. And then he's like, have you been seeing a guy lately? Like, what guy? You mean Itsumi-san? Just tell me if you're seeing him. It's like, do you two know each other? And he's like, hardly. And then he looks down, so no facial expressions, right? Because she can't see his face. And it's like, are you sleeping over at his house? Because she heard, he heard from her mom that she was going to be staying at a friend's house, not knowing that it was Rin-chan. And so she's like, why can't I see his face? Like, why isn't he expressing, like, what's going on? And it's like, why are you signing with your face down? And he's like, sorry, it was an accident. Anyway, are you staying at his house? Like, come on. It's like, no, I haven't slept over there. And he's like, I'm just going to put it out there. Don't go getting the wrong idea. You're deaf, and that might attract the attention of a weird guy. Like, the wrong kind of attention. And I wouldn't like that. Just speaking as an old friend. I mean, even I want a cute girlfriend. I've had girlfriends before, you know. It's just so... That's literally the direction that conversation went. Like, verbatim. Just, yeah, because you're deaf, you might attract, like, a weirdo, and I don't want him to hurt you, because, you know, I'm your friend. But, you know, I could totally get a girlfriend, like a cute girlfriend. Like, I've had girlfriends before. Really defensive on that, really quickly, for no reason. Like, I'm sure there would have been more spacing, but none of that was natural. And she's like, right, good luck for getting a girlfriend. And he's like, yeah, I'll have one in no time. And then just walks off, and he's like, he ought to know I don't understand. Like, what is happening? That's what I'm saying. If she had enough sense, she would have picked that all up, because he made it very, very obvious. And she's trying to process these emotions, too, of her friend liking her. And I'm sure this is going to boil over into some kind of elaborate thing, because we have already seen them being very territorial with each other. Him be like, oh, you can't come up on Yuki-chan like that because she's deaf. You can't just walk up behind her. And he's like, covering her, like, with his big muscular arms, covering up her face so she can't really see, with his arm around her. And she's like, what's going on? Like, I don't know what's going on. I can't see. And that's so rude. But he's like, she said it's fine if it's me. And it's just being so territorial. Like, both of you guys need to step back, cool off. Everyone being Yuki-chan's best interest, but no. And then he's on his trip, and they're just being cute, and he comes back, and there's this cute part. I'm going to go reference the translation notes, because it makes more sense there. She misreads his lips, where... it's the man I missed you on page 129. In Japanese, Yuki thinks Itsumi is saying, Gyushite? I? or can I hug you? In fact, as she immediately finds out, not what they said in the book, but as immediately finds out, he said, "Chu shite," or can I kiss you? And I'm not great at my Japanese right now with some verbs and questions. I am trying. So I'm doing my best. And that's what counts. But it's a GYUU versus a CHUU. So it's really similar. And you can't hear. If you're reading lips, that looks really similar. So, obviously, he walks up as soon as the train passed, which, okay. One note that I did not like about this book. Okay, so she's walking, right? She's walking and getting texts from him. Remember, she cannot hear, has no hearing. So any alarms going off around her, she wouldn't be able to hear. She's texting, and I was worried because she's looking down at her phone. But there's a train coming. And so there's all these lights and sirens and things, but she did stop by it. But they made me really nervous because they just show her walking up to it and then show the bar down. And for a brief moment, I was like, this isn't going to be a tragic episode, or volume, is it? And it wasn't. The train passes by with no problem, but they give me so much anxiety for absolutely no reason, thinking that she's going to walk into the tracks and be on her phone. Because if you're not looking up and you can't hear, I mean, it's very likely to happen. So she gave me a little heart attack for no reason. And then he walks up and he's like, "Can I kiss you?" And she puts her arms out thinking, oh, he said, "Can I hug you?" And then boom, smackaroo, first kiss. And she was completely taken aback. It was so cute though, because he missed her so much. And that was just the first thing that happened. Oh, another thing about this volume about this series that I really enjoy is that both the characters are in college, but we don't have a fresh adult. We don't have an 18-year-old. She's 19, which is a bit older than, your typical romance where one character is 18 and there's a 3-year gap and he being 22. And so I really appreciated that she's not just your average 18-year-old, that we have a little bit older. She's 19 and I like that because she's a little bit older. And I feel like I'm tired of seeing just 18-year-olds constantly. It's nice to see someone a little bit older, and he's the oldest, being 22, even though that's not very old. But then the rest is just them being cute for the duration of the book, just talking about hey, I want you to meet my new friend. And the friend is the guy who was super drunk that came in with the girl Emma that she was super nervous about for getting the key. So I really like this volume. It was so sweet. It had me blushing and I was like, oh my goodness, I need a break. I need to step away because this is just too cute. I highly recommend this series. If you haven't read it, you need to get on that. Come on now. And if you have, please let me know down in the comments below what you thought. And please feel free to check out my other reviews. I plan on doing a review of book 4 as soon as I get a hold of it. And yeah, so please like and subscribe. And I will see you here next time on SewStitchHex. Have a wicked evening. Bye. He's like, "What ounce do you like me?" Little